In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon the Messenger of Allah, his family, his companions, and those who follow his guidance. O Allah, there is no ease except what you have made easy, and you make sorrow easy if you wish. Now, more than 2 decades have passed since the program we named 360 Degrees, and the previous program I held in Sudan. May Allah reward them for documenting the program and benefit through it as He wills from His creation. Over the years, I have received questions from young people who have entered the intellectual and conceptual life and have a desire to organize knowledge in a way that builds a cognitive framework, allowing them to discuss and serve the Renaissance Project in an organized manner. This is where the idea came to create a program we call the Foundational Program. As the name suggests, it is meant to lay the foundational groundwork and basic structure upon which a person who wants to serve the Renaissance Project can stand. This will enable them to speak about the project comfortably and to have a coherent and organized thought process regarding the issues they address. We were uncertain about what to call this section, and I felt that introduction was not an appropriate term for what I wanted to convey, as the part I will discuss at the beginning of the program is one of the most important sections that must be understood and grasped. So, what will I talk about during this introduction? I will explain what the Foundational Program is. This will be the first main period I will discuss. Then I will outline the 3 terms that will always accompany us, which a person needs to understand from the very beginning so that we are at least aware of what we are talking about. Sometimes I explain a very long topic, and within this project I am discussing, there are 1 or 2 terms that stick in a person's mind but have no meaning or significance in their life. As a result, the rest of the discussion seems like a maze due to the loss of these 2 essential terms. I will try to explain this aspect in a model, God willing, shortly. Then I will touch on how we can achieve the greatest return from this foundational program. I have decided that I am a young person, whether male or female, interested in culture, and I want to build an organized culture. What should I do to be able to grasp this program? The last issue I will discuss is what we mean by philosophy and why people struggle with the topic of philosophy, as most of the discussion will revolve around cultural matters. At the core of culture lies the idea of philosophy. If philosophy is unclear, we essentially have a problem in dealing with the rest of the foundational program. Let me start with the first main issue we promised to discuss, and I will explain what the foundational program is. I have provided a definition for it, and I will share a funny incident that happened to me while working on the definition. I said that the foundational program is a set of pathways that lead to the ability to understand the Renaissance Project and the capacity to present, critique, and develop it. I presented this topic to some friends, and one of them said, "I honestly didn't understand what you mean by pathways." I asked him if he was in university, where there is something called courses. He replied, "Yes." I said that pathways are the courses. The courses a person takes are the pathways. So we are talking about a set of mini courses, small, precise pathways, where we have chosen the information to be minimal and focused, useful for the future. We will present these in modules as small, simple models that are easy to grasp. So, what the dear brother is struggling with is the need for awareness, which is that we say this foundational program consists of a set of pathways. Although these pathways differ in various arts, they all share the main purpose of enabling individuals to serve the Renaissance Project and understand it correctly in Arab and Islamic societies primarily, and then in areas with Arab and Muslim communities. Their children need to understand what the Renaissance Project is in Arab and Islamic societies. I hope in the future to offer the same program in English and perhaps after that we can translate it so that as many Arabs and Muslims around the world as possible who need some form of communication with the idea of the Renaissance and its developments in the Arab and Islamic world can access it. It has been over 100 years since Napoleon's campaign, and we are now talking about 1798 while we are in 2020. Significant periods have passed regarding the development of the Renaissance project in the Arab and Islamic region, and it is best for them to know the latest advancements of these ideas. Therefore, the first issue we want to address is that we need to enter into a set of pathways so that individuals can contribute to the Renaissance. This is the simplest way to describe it. Now, the big question I mentioned, which may be confusing within this definition, is that I mentioned the idea of the Renaissance, and the term Renaissance itself is ambiguous. A person reads it and passes it by, thinking they understand what the Renaissance is. But when we say we are talking about the Renaissance, what exactly is it? This also seems to present a problem. God willing, I will present a model. At one point during the presentation, this model will appear on the screen. Based on the two ideas that we cannot understand the Renaissance project unless we understand the idea of backwardness. If we can see the underdeveloped society and the Renaissance society as opposites, we can identify the bridge that we as societies will cross today and the effort that the youth of the Arab and Islamic communities must exert to move from this point to that point. It simply requires understanding the concept of underdevelopment and the concept of Renaissance. And then we can see what we will do on the bridge, connecting the two in order to transition from here to this very significant foundational area. Let's first examine the underdeveloped society. The first issue and the first angle we will take is the angle of major values or the overarching perspectives embraced by the underdeveloped society. In the underdeveloped society, there is a low image of humanity, meaning that existential dignity is not respected to a very large extent. Why is it not respected? Because individuals will not find their political, economic, or social rights. All these issues will be confiscated from them. The most important issue that will be taken from them is their mind and their right to differ from others. Thus, within the underdeveloped society, there exists a degree of dehumanization that individuals may or may not feel. The second issue is the perspective on science. The transition from the Middle Ages, where science was based solely on the deductive method, to the modern ages with the experimental method is very difficult and requires a continuous change in mentality. In underdeveloped societies, we find people studying the latest scientific theories, but their mentality is still based on the old system that comes from the Middle Ages. Therefore, in science, we have a problem with the perception of nature as well. We also have an issue in the more underdeveloped societies because nature for them does not mean science, research, and discovery. Rather, it signifies a static entity that we might care for to beautify a garden if it exists at all, based on some aesthetic sense. If there is no aesthetic sense, then it becomes unimportant. In the underdeveloped society, there is a real problem with work and craftsmanship. Religion, instead of being a motivation for work, becomes a reason to withdraw from life. Religion itself suffers from underdevelopment. Citizenship and national unity are compromised and face significant issues because society does not recognize the value of its national unity. The relationship with the world is strained. Individuals cannot build bridges with the world and with other people around them. Thus, there are problems in the major perceptions within the underdeveloped society. Another issue is the degree of interconnection between internal systems in the underdeveloped society. For instance, the home tells the child something different from what the school teaches. And the school prepares individuals in a way that does not allow them to be active in the university. The university prepares individuals in a way that does not qualify them to be professors in any field of research and inquiry. The research fields present in society are not related to commercial markets. Merchants do not inquire about developing any goods or send them any questions. Research centers do not work on internal issues. The army, security, and military power are not based on knowledge available within these societies, but rather on knowledge from outside these societies. Therefore, in terms of the degree of interconnection of systems, there is a problem in the third world or the underdeveloped society. Of course, the external manifestations of poverty, ignorance, disease, and wars are entrenched in the environments of the third world. Therefore, these are primary issues that give us indicators of what we mean by the issue of underdevelopment, which is a bundle of factors. However, I want you to remember from this topic that if someone wants to explain this subject to others, they can do so by looking at the level of perception in the society we call the perspectives in the model before you. We examine the degree of interconnection of the systems present within society, from the household to the military power, and how these systems are interconnected to serve a single goal. We look at the basic manifestations in society. If there is poverty, ignorance, disease, and internal wars, it means the society is underdeveloped. We then search within the society at 3 levels. The first level is the presence of the manifestations we discussed. The second issue is the degree of interconnection of the systems. And the third level is the degree of values and perceptions about life. Thus, we have defined the underdeveloped society in a way that contrasts with the society we call the Renaissance society. The image of humanity is very elevated, with rights and freedoms, science, discovery, and research being clear within society. Nature is respected and is the center of secrets and research within the community. Time is respected, work is respected, and religion is a motivator for effectiveness. Citizenship is given great attention. The perspective on the world and the benefits derived from it is also advanced in these societies. In terms of interconnectedness, the home supports the school, which produces good outcomes. The school supports the university, which produces even better outcomes. And the university supports research centers that possess high scientific capabilities. Research centers provide their consultations to the labor sector, the market, the army, and the armed forces for weapon development, thus integrating the links of society. These societies have prosperity, science, health, and stability. Of course, when we talk about these things, we do so with a comparative estimate against the third world, and the world is not without its issues. We now know where we stand and where we hope to be in the future. The question will be as follows. What is the bridge that connects these two worlds? The world of underdevelopment and the world of progress is what is called the Renaissance Project. When we talk about the Renaissance Project, it is this bridge that will connect us and through which we will cross from this level to this second level. This simplification of the idea of the Renaissance is very important for us because in general discussions, people often lose the overall picture. However, if we understand that we have an underdeveloped society and a Renaissance society, and we engage in dialogue to cross this bridge, this will be the Renaissance project we are talking about. So, what exactly is the current stage we are moving into regarding this bridge? We say that we want to transition not directly from our current situation to an advanced and developed society, which is a very difficult process. We need to move to a stage that we will call the stage of awakening, which is an intermediary between the stage of revival and the stage of liberation. In the stage of awakening, the world transcends ideas and the relationships between people who are working in the revival. How will we transition to the stage of awakening? This is a very big question that involves 3 things that need to be modified for us to truly enter this phase. Of course, during the study of the program, we will understand these things in detail. But for now, I will mention them broadly. To reach the stage of awakening, we need to modify the current cognitive apparatus that exists. The current apparatus has produced the backward perceptions within society, and this requires radical modification that must occur in the stage of awakening. The second issue is to create a general current within societies. In the previous period, which we call the period of revival, there was a focus on establishing organizations and organizational bodies and separating different components on the basis that each party holds the complete truth and is the one that will save the nation. This led to internal conflicts that hindered the movement and progress of the nation. We need a general current. It is possible to create a significant cultural movement where individuals can communicate with each other regardless of their affiliation with a party, institution, group, organization, or state. This is the idea of the movement. The third issue is that we need a culture that is relevant to the current era. Let me explain this idea, because it is very important. Many people's cultures help them if they were living in the 5th or 4th century. They know Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah well, they know al-Ghazali well, or perhaps they do not know them or think they know them, but the entire culture is focused on a time that is not ours. We need 80% of our culture to be about our era and 20% to be about the past. Our culture is completely inverted. We know nothing about our time, and perhaps some of us immerse themselves in those past eras to the point of almost living them entirely. Therefore, we need a culture that is relevant to the current era. This relevant culture is the program we will work on, which we have named the Foundational Program. Within the Foundational Program, there is a main idea that a person needs to keep in mind when joining our program. We want them to be closely connected to their era and to understand the language of this time. The conflicts we are experiencing and the situations we are facing are unparalleled in Islamic history and ancient history. They are products of their time. If we do not understand the era we are living in, we will be outside of it, receiving blows without knowing why we come out losers in every battle. If we talk about what backwardness is and what awakening is, there is a stage in the text called the stage of awakening, and we want to express it through three main projects: the project of changing the cognitive apparatus, the project of the supportive current within society regardless of differing orientations, and the project of changing the culture to one that is compatible with the era. Therefore, this is the main issue. If I say the word awakening, we need to bring to mind the model you will see on the screen. If I say the word backwardness, we need to recall this second part of the topic. If I mention the bridge between them, the three issues present in it should be clear to the people who are receiving and living with us in the program. I cannot move past this point without emphasizing the need for a good understanding of this model by those attending the program. They should review, study, and explain it to others. But do not let it pass by lightly, as this fleeting approach is not what the program is designed for. The entire program is intended for people who are determined to create a culture that is equivalent to the modern era, and this model is fundamental to the idea we will discuss. I believe this idea is clear, and I will move on to the second idea. The second idea asks, how can we achieve the highest return from this program? How can I come out of this program with the best possible result? It's not just about someone listening to the program and then forgetting it. Rather, it's about someone being able to explain the core ideas to others. How can that be done? The first fundamental issue I will call philosophical generosity, of course. For those who follow me on programs and YouTube know what I mean by philosophical generosity, but I will explain this topic. We all come from societies that are very disorganized, meaning a lot has been written in them. It's not the first program a person attends. They have attended 20, 30, 40, or 50 programs before and participated in reading groups, reading this way and that. So the notebook is filled with a lot of scribbles. Every time they hear a new idea, their mind, which they call the little voice, kicks in, telling them to discuss this idea, or that they have a counter-argument to it. They do not give themselves the chance to absorb what is being said. They are constantly debating old ideas. Consequently, new ideas do not find the space they need to occupy. And only then can they be viewed objectively. Therefore, we need philosophical generosity, which is listening to learn. After learning, a person can build, because in the program itself, our main role is not to produce someone who worships the proposed program, but rather someone who can develop within it, express new ideas, and discuss what exists in it. All of this is acceptable, as long as the person grasps the idea well. If you need from the brothers, after mastering the initial model we were talking about, and of course the sisters, need to realize this truth. Without philosophical generosity, you will not learn anything. If you are in a program as a professor, then you don't need to attend the program because you don't need to learn anything. If you are in learning, give yourself the opportunity to learn, and then you can become a professor. This is the purpose of the program, to avoid having repeated copies of things and to have people who can genuinely discuss ideas, adopt new ideas, and develop the ideas presented. However, philosophical generosity is very important in the project we will discuss. The second important point is mastering each model individually. Each of these models forms a building block of the ideas we want. This part that you are learning needs to be mastered because it will build upon other ideas and connect later with the idea that came before it and the idea that comes after it without mastering the proposed model. You will face the difficulty of understanding the ideas that follow, as each model requires us to comprehend the internal logic that connects its components. We have presented one model which raises the question, what is a model? The one we just discussed is the issue of the world of backwardness and the world of awakening, along with the bridge that connects them, and we call this our model. In each model, you will find different elements and connections between them. Master the links between these parts within a single model, and then connect this model to the previous one, if it exists, and to the subsequent model, so you can understand how the composition of ideas integrates with one another. This idea is extremely important, and I hope that individuals pay attention to it. Speaking about it will greatly benefit the program if one can organize their thoughts in a professional manner. The fourth issue, what I'm saying is the bare minimum of things. And today, the internet and information are just a click away. If I mention a historical fact about the Mongols, and you have no idea about them, may God bless you and reward you well. Just press the button and open a page that talks about the Mongols and make a small note next to the idea. I am talking about a theory among theories, and you may not be familiar with it. Press the internet button, find someone who has discussed the topic, and look for the simplest things available. Write them down and make them your personal notes. You will benefit much more from what you research than from what we say. The program is designed to provide you with the minimum, and the basic, while the maximum has no limits. Every issue we present will have a million other opinions. But I will choose the part that I see as important for building. After that, consult the internet, and Uncle Google will not let you down. He will provide you with a lot of information in both Arabic and English, and if you know French, that's even better. So here we are at a very important point in this topic. The nature of the humanities is very important in relation to philosophy. And many brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, contact me regarding philosophical issues. They seek a decisive opinion on a philosophical matter. And I always say, pay attention to an important issue. Philosophy does not solve problems. It addresses issues. This simple statement that I make should be emphasized. What is the difference between problems and issues? To simplify the topic and avoid significant complications. Problems and issues. A problem usually has one solution. Let me illustrate this with an example. If we say 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, what is the result? 4, okay, 2 + 2. 4, 3 + 1, 4. So we can arrive at the result of 4, but through different ways of thinking. In the end, regarding the problem, we reach a point where we have found a solution to the problem, and that concludes the matter. In philosophy, the subject is not like this. We usually address issues after studying the topic, and it becomes clear to us that there are 4 directions, 3 major directions, and we must either contribute a 4th opinion, choose one of these paths, or postpone judgment. Thus, the nature of philosophy is open to choices that address issues rather than problems. Just as we used an example from mathematics, I will give an example regarding the issue of justice. How many perspectives are there on justice? In today's world, for example, the communist system viewed justice as taking the wealth of all people from society and having the government become the sole owner of all resources, a process known as nationalization. After that, people are given jobs and salaries according to their exact needs, and housing is standardized for everyone. Thus, justice is seen as impoverishing everyone and providing them with an equal life in all its resources. This is the type of justice that communism envisioned in its Soviet model. However, we have another system, like liberalism, which views justice from a different perspective. It does not impoverish people, but rather acknowledges class negotiation within society, where there are poor people and wealthy people. The rich can attend prestigious universities, while the poor can only go to lower-tier institutions, and job opportunities in life are very limited. He argues that for him, justice is not about impoverishing the rich. We will not just give money to the poor. Rather, I open the door for the poor person to understand that if they exert effort, they can rise to become like the rich. They need to put in greater effort, but the path is open for them to advance. The state can help with a small part by providing resources, but the major effort must come from them to transcend. If they choose to remain in poverty and ignorance, they are free to do so. But if they wish to rise, the path to advancement is open. Thus, there are two different perspectives on justice. If we look at the Scandinavian countries, for example, we will find a third and fourth perspective on the issue of justice. Why? Because philosophy provides diverse solutions, not just one. Anyone who enters the realm of philosophy, sociology, politics, and economics should not expect a single, definitive solution. Instead, entering this space naturally opens you up to multiple solutions, and you must choose the model that you find most suitable for your thinking, or add a model. That does not exist. In any case, philosophy opens you up to choices beyond just the issues at hand, leading you to solutions, and these solutions help you achieve what you want. With that, I conclude the main ideas. The most important ideas that I want to present to people before entering the program are, is the program serious? And there is somewhat heavy information for those who are not accustomed to philosophical concepts and ideas, but we will simplify the ideas as much as possible. I hope that in this introduction, we have simplified the ideas to the greatest extent, so that people understand what backwardness means, what awakening means, and what the bridge is that connects them, and what we will work on. If we conclude the topic with this idea, then, God willing, the main ideas will have reached our audience. Before we start the program, and God willing, we will begin comfortably in the next session and complete a second module on this topic, which I hope will be beneficial. Peace be upon you, and God's mercy and blessings.